You know, as much as I love Plants vs. Zombies, I think it's about time we switch it up a bit. Rhythm Heaven! Rhythm Heaven is a series of rhythm games developed and published by Nintendo for the Game Boy Advance all the way up to the Nintendo 3DS. Each game is a collection of minigames where the player has to time inputs to the rhythm of a minigame to receive a passing grade. After a select number of minigames, the player unlocks a remix, a medley of previous minigames played together to a new song. These remixes are easily the most iconic aspect of the Rhythm Heaven series, inspiring a plethora of fan-made remixes to in-game tracks and other music. Although, we'll only be focusing on the official remixes in this video. There are a total of 40 remixes across the Rhythm Heaven franchise, 9 in Tengoku, 10 in DS, 11 in Fever, and 10 in Megamix. Seeing as this is another tier list themed around music, I thought it makes sense to utilize the tiers in my Singing Monsters Island tier list, with S tier being the best, A being great, B being good, C being average, and D being below average. As with my MSM Island tier list, I don't believe anything discussed in this video would be deserving of an F tier, and D tier does not equal bad. Finally, this ranking is balanced between the remix's music and how good I find the gameplay to be. How good or bad I am at each remix will not affect the ranking. Now, let's start off where it all began. Remix 1 GBA is the first remix in the entire series, and as such, sets the expectations for what a remix is and what it aims to accomplish. So, how does Remix 1 do at being the franchise's first remix? It does a fine enough job. Surprisingly enough, Remix 1 GBA is one of the longest, non-final remixes in the series. But does it deserve that length? Kinda? The beginning cycles between two minigames, with some very tame transitions. It's not until halfway in where they start to add more minigames to the mix, and that's when the gameplay gets more interesting. The transitions are snappier, and there's more energy to the music. However, this music is where my problem lies in Remix 1. Because the main melody barely evolves throughout the song, you can really feel how long this remix is. And that boost of energy around the middle and end is too little too late. From a gameplay perspective, Remix 1 does a good job. It starts off simple and easy to follow, adds in minigames at a steady pace, demonstrates that minigames and remixes may have slight alterations, showcases quicker transitions, and syncs to the music very well. But from a music perspective, I prefer others. For setting the bar, it definitely sets the bar well, but I'll be giving Remix 1 C tier. Remix 2 is much further up my alley. While Remix 2's main melody barely evolves much like Remix 1's, I find its main melody much catchier. Plus, Remix 2's second melody has much more variety than Remix 1's. The only musical gripe I have with Remix 2 is that the Bonadori doesn't really fit. Otherwise, the music sync is solid. There are some questionable gameplay decisions. This sick beat section is significantly harder than anything in the base minigame, and this warning in the rat race section isn't really needed. However, there is one gameplay decision that I believe to be a genuine sin. And that's the fact that every input in Sneaky Spirits is on the 7th beat instead of the 8th beat. Except for this very last input, which goes back to being on the 8th beat without any sort of warning. F you for that. Fix your game, Sakurai. C tier. Remix 3 GBA is much more of an important remix than it has any right to be. Not only is it the first remix in the series with custom textures, but it's also the first remix in the series with lyrics. And it's cute and catchy. But what about the gameplay? Well, it's solid too. Although, I do wish more was done with Wizard Waltz. Considering that it has a huge section dedicated to it in the song, you'd expect the player to have to do more than 4 inputs during it. Even lesser used minigames such as Showtime and Tram and Pauline feel more present in the remix. Ah well, Remix 3 is still a good remix. In fact, I think that's the perfect rating for it. B tier. Remix 4 is alright, but it's most comparable to Remix 1, except with worse gameplay. Let's start with the music. It's fine, catchy enough. I prefer it over Remix 1's, but that's not saying too much. It also speeds up around the middle. That's cool, I guess. I love Nightcore. Okay, let's talk about the gameplay. Remix 4's gameplay is pretty underwhelming. For one, Nightwalk GBA is way too prevalent for how easily you can exploit it. You see, Nightwalk is a minigame where you don't have to hit every input to pass, just the ones that don't send you falling off. As such, half of Nightwalk in this remix can be skipped. Second, and this might be controversial if you're a Rhythm Heaven player, Quiz Show is underutilized. You're telling me that in a minigame that plays like this, you're gonna throw a max of 9 inputs across the entire remix? The sped up part would have been a perfect place to use Quiz Show. And I know it's for rap men, but I can't help but be a little disappointed. Power Calligraphy is fine in this remix, Polyrhythm is fine in this remix, and Rap Men is difficult to implement, but they did their best. In all, Remix 4 is lacking. As mentioned in the intro, nothing discussed in this video is deserving of an F tier. But Remix 4 is my least favorite remix discussed so far. D tier, below average, but again, not bad. Remix 5 is the second best remix in Rhythm Tengoku. Just listen to it. Even with the audio compression, it sounds good. But a high quality version exists. And not just a high quality version, but a full length track. I don't know how to put it, I'm just gonna play it. Like, bro! It's not perfect though. Gameplay-wise, there's way too much tap trial. Like, there's more tap trial in this remix than there are the 4 other minigames combined. But I just can't put this remix anywhere below A tier. The music is just too good. Remix 6 GBA is the first final remix in the entire series. It's not the last remix in Tengoku, but it serves its purpose as a medley of every minigame in Rhythm Tengoku. And as a medley of every minigame, Remix 6's track is a medley of every minigame's track. As such, its enjoyability comes down to how much I like the music in Rhythm Tengoku overall. And well, I do like it. From a music and gameplay perspective, the transitions between minigames are solid. The transition between Sneaky Spirits and the Bonadori stands out to me specifically. quiz show as an actual quiz show is really cool, and Space Dance makes for a good opening and closing minigame. That's really all I have to say about Remix 6. A great medley with some good music and solid gameplay. Now, what more could you mix after you've mixed every minigame together? A remix of the remixes? That's actually pretty clever. Too bad they chose the worst remixes to remix. I'll admit, the use of different minigames for remixes 1 and 4 work better for those tracks, but that still doesn't make them less uninteresting to me. That's not to mention that Remix 1 takes up most of the remix, and the Remix 4 sped up part is not a Remix 7. The concept, Remix 2, some clever minigame usage and music sync, and some custom textures are the only things keeping Remix 7 above D tier. Next. With the context of Remix 8 being a bonus remix, and the last time that we could have seen these characters, Remix 8 is a nice farewell. But outside of that context, it's just boring. It's more cohesive than Remix 7 if you prefer that, and I prefer Remix 8's track over Remix 7's. But outside of that, I just don't care about Remix 8. The new mechanics for Karate Man GBA and Rhythm Tweezers are cool, but these two take up a majority of the remix, and it's not like the other minigames add much more. Cute remix, but not one of the best. D tier. So, Remix Tengoku has an arcade port, and it's really cool. I've actually had the opportunity to play it in person, and of course, I gravitated towards the port's exclusive content. Yeah, Rhythm Tengoku Arcade has an entire set of sped-up minigames with custom textures, remix music, and a sped-up remix. So... oh my god, it's just fast Remix 1. I am so tired of talking about Remix 1, bro. Believe it or not, Remix 1 Tempo Up actually has a different track, which I much prefer over Remix 1's track. There's not a lot I can say about the gameplay, as it's literally the same as Remix 1, but at a faster pace. And that's all I have to say about Remix 1 Tempo Up. It's not on my tier list right now, but I'd place it a smidge higher than Remix 1 in C tier. And that's all the remixes in Rhythm Tengoku covered. Let's move on to Rhythm Heaven for the Nintendo DS. In my opinion, Remix 1 DS is a big step up from Remix 1 GBA. Not only will every remix from this point on have custom textures, but Remix 1 also functions well as a first remix. Like Remix 1 GBA, Remix 1 DS cycles between two minigames with tame transitions, before adding more minigames and speeding up the transitions. I would argue that Remix 1 DS is far more predictable than Remix 1 GBA, but the gimmick of speeding up the gameplay as the remix progresses keeps things interesting. The song is also way more of a vibe, with build-to-scale DS really adding to the track. It's a good remix overall. B tier. Despite being pretty short, Remix 2 is nice. The theming is good, the gameplay is solid, but what really stood out to me is the music. It's just super infectious. You could really tell how much better the audio quality got moving from the GBA to the DS. And that's really all I have to say. I'm gonna place Remix 2 DS at the bottom of B tier, because I find the music to gameplay balance stronger than a Remix 2 GBA.
Take your beat, take your beat, stretch out your neck.
gonna be honest with you all. I've been sitting here for an hour trying to write what it is I like about Remix 3, so I'm just gonna wing it. It's good. I think this is the only remix in the series to have a practice, and I promise that's more insane than my voice is probably letting on. It's also a really long remix, but the gameplay is alright and it balances the minigames quite well. The strongest aspect of Remix 3 is easily its track. It's way better than it has any right to be.
3, 2, 1.
Remix 3 is good overall, but I'm ready to move on to the next. B tier. I really like Remix 4. Believe it or not, it's actually the fastest remix in the series at a whopping 222 BPM. However, I wouldn't say its speed affects its difficulty. Remix 4 is surprisingly simple, which it kinda has to be due to having some of the fastest and slowest minigames in the series. It's still a fun time though.
Wait, come on!
The music's high energy. I love the change in time for Love Labs section, and the change in cue for DJ School section, although it could have done with a warning. And Munchie Monk has never been faster. B tier. I don't see anyone talking about Remix 5 DS, and I don't know if that's justified or not. I don't have a lot to say about the gameplay. It's okay, but I feel like these minigames aren't well suited for this remix. Big Rock Finish never changes in tempo, and some dork keeps shouting,
Here we go!
in every Dog Ninja section. Remix 5 DS is similar to Remix 4 GBA, in that the gameplay isn't at its highest potential and the music is mid. Except the music isn't mid, it's actually pretty damn good. Definitely carrying its placement. C tier.
Here we go!
Beat it, boys.
Beat it, boys!
Go, go. Kick.
There's not a lot I have to say about Remix 6 either. The music, while fine, is a little boring, and the gameplay is pretty repetitive. However, there is one thing that Remix 6 DS is remembered for. Its transitions. Up to this point, no Rhythm Heaven remix has had minigames cut to the next game mid-input. Or better yet, fake out the player. Because of this, reception on Remix 6 DS is pretty mixed, but I like it. It's certainly one where you have to focus more on the music and cues rather than the visuals, but I think that's genius. It is a rhythm game after all. Low B tier for creativity.
Yeah. I suppose.
Much like Remix 7 GBA, Remix 7 DS is the first remix in Rhythm Heaven DS to include minigames outside of its selection. How does Remix 7 do at utilizing these different minigames? Well, it's not without its flaws. For one, Remix 7's gameplay is more repetitive than the last, but without the cool transitions that made the former's gameplay interesting. However, people don't like Remix 7 DS for the gameplay. They like it for the music. Because if they make it far enough, they'll come to realize that Remix 7 DS is just the full song of a snippet from the minigame Big Rock Finish.
3, 2, 1.
Come on. Scratch your head.
3, 2,
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
That's fucking awesome. B tier. Remix 8 is Poggers!
Poggers.
This remix is no joke, one of the most memorable remixes in the series. Why, you may be asking? Let me just show you. Remix 8 is fast. Ironically not as fast as Remix 4, but I digress. Much like Remix 6, Remix 8 is one where you really have to go with the rhythm. Because the patterns are quite simple, but the visuals will f you over. Because of this, I find this remix so much fun to play. Even when you know what's up ahead, the gameplay is never dull because you're always actively engaged. Not to mention the music. It's no Remix 3, but it's still super catchy. Yes, this remix may be hard on your first try, and yes, the gameplay is repetitive, but in my opinion, that works in the remix's favor. The gameplay can only be so hard when it's going at this speed. This one's an S tier. I love this remix. Damn, Remix 9 is also really good. In fact, I'd argue that Remix 9 DS has some of the strongest gameplay in a remix thus far. It's the first time a cue for a minigame appears in a separate minigame, and some of its transitions rival the ones in Remix 6. Sure, the gameplay can be a little samey, but like Remix 8, I feel like it's snappy enough to be engaging. Also, the music is good, and I like the use of build-to-scale before the chorus. High B tier. Here we are, Remix 10, the final remixes of every game going forward. Like Remix 6 GBA, the enjoyability of Remix 10 DS comes down to how much I enjoy playing Rhythm Heaven DS's minigames in succession, and how much I'd enjoy a medley of every minigame's track. And like Remix 6 GBA, I enjoy both. The gameplay is solid. I really like the transition from shoot 'em up to lockstep, even if it's a little mean without the visuals. And the fade out note from Glee Club to Philbots. The music's great as well. I definitely prefer Remix 10 DS's track over Remix 6 GBA's, and paired with a stronger gameplay, Remix 10 DS easily tops Remix 6 GBA, which I think is a good thing. It shows that the Rhythm Heaven series is improving with each entry, and I'm excited to dive into the most popular game in the series next, Rhythm Heaven Fever for the Wii. Oh yeah, A tier. Remix 1 Wii is the best first remix in the series. It establishes what a remix is off the bat, its transitions are tame while maintaining the pace, and the gameplay is fun and energetic, due in part to the music. Remix 1's track is a bop, and it nails the vacation vibe perfectly. Of course, there are remixes I like more, and Remix 1 being, well, a first remix, means it can't do as much as the others. But I could confidently say that Rhythm Heaven Fever is off to a great start. B tier. Remix 2 is weird. It's the shortest remix in the series and contains some of the hardest and easiest minigames in Fever. Because of that, the difficulty is all over the place, and the minigames are kinda awkward to play together. There are some cute details in this one, such as the intro, the assistant monkey, and the reference to the monkeys in Tap Trial 2. Plus, the music is alright. But apart from that, Remix 2 is surprisingly average. C tier. Remix 3 Wii is our first remix with lyrics since, what, Tengoku? And I'd argue that it was worth the wait. Because Rhythm Tengoku was only released in the East, this is the first time a Rhythm Heaven remix has had the luxury of a Japanese and English track, and I think both are pretty good. I'm definitely more used to the English track, but I have to admit that the Japanese vocals feel more upbeat.
Jump! Jump! Down, down, down! Jump! 1, 2! 1, 2!
Also, that little in the Japanese track goes a long way. As for the gameplay, it's fun. I haven't really mentioned it yet, but Rhythm Heaven remixes have gotten a lot better at balancing their minigames since DS. And Remix 3 is no exception. That long built-to-scale Wii section, the back and forth between Air Rally and Figure Fighter, and Working Dough being the cherry on top, this remix does not disappoint. The first non-final remix to reach A tier since Remix 5 GBA. What a banger. I don't know if Remix 4 Wii is really good, or if I've just fallen victim to Thing Japan, but this remix fucking rules. I'm just gonna start with the music. This song is a vibe from the start, but the gradual build up to this bridge is so satisfying. I adore the way it sounds. Don't get me started on what follows after. Gameplay-wise, I'd consider Remix 4 Wii more fun than the last. I will admit that Samurai Slice and Ringside sort of take center stage here, but I can't be mad considering how much they add to the remix. Remix 4 is just a good time overall, with one of my favorite instrumentals yet. A tier.
One, two, three, go!
I've noticed that following the fourth remix of a Rhythm Heaven game, there's usually a drought of mid-remixes before the really good ones. That should seem the case for Fever, but I think Remix 5 is good. Once again, the music goes off, especially the horns at the first flipper flop section.
Company. 2 flipper roll. 1, 2. 2 flipper roll. 1, 2.
However, the gameplay is what weighs this remix down a little bit. 2 of its minigames are based around timing, while the other 2 are based around maintaining a rhythm. Because of that, the gameplay shifts from consistent inputs to slow timings, which can be a bit awkward. There's also way too much catch of the day. I fucking hate this minigame. Still, I won't let my skill issue cloud my decision. B tier. Remix 6 is weird. Like, for real this time. Objectively, it shouldn't work. It's a fast-paced, carnival-themed remix with 2 of the slowest minigames in the game, and the strangest, most confusing... Like, the game doesn't even know what the minigame's about. But it just works. The gameplay is fun. They take such advantage of these minigames and push them to their most enjoyable. The music is good, and it only gets better as the remix progresses. Which is not to mention the switch-ups of the Bossa Nova sections. They just sound so good. I love this remix. It's a better remix for DS. A tier. Man, how much more praise could I give? Remix 7 is awesome. Just like Remix 6 Wii, Remix 7 really took advantage of pushing these minigames to their max, especially Tap Troop. And even though Shrimp Shuffle clearly got the short end of the stick, it's okay because it was never that fun to play in the first place. To its credit, its sections in the remix are easily my favorite parts about it, with the exception of this track sounding great to begin with. There's also a lot of cute references, like Space Uncle, a Frogette, Playan, and Karate Joe scratching his ass while watching Karate Man GBA on his TV. All in all, this is a wonderful remix, from a gameplay, music, and aesthetic standpoint. A tier. It's not topping Remix 8 DS, I'll tell you that much. Remix 8 Wii's a jam. I'd say it's the obligatory love remix, but it's more like the obligatory unrequited love remix. Like Remix 3 Wii, Remix 8's track has an English and Japanese version. Both are solid, but I'm far more used to the English version, so there's my preference on that. As for the gameplay, it's fun. Slower minigames such as Exhibition Match excel at a faster BPM, and minigames such as Air Rally and Launch Party really complement Remix 8's track. This one is great. It's like Remix 3, but even more enjoyable. A tier. What isn't there to say about Remix 9? Once again, this remix's track has an English and Japanese version, and I'm split on which one I like more.
They say it's still just nothing but a man's world. They say it's just too hard to find yourself. Just to feel good and love you all night. It's just crazy. Mama, this is
If we're discussing the track by itself, then I slightly prefer the Japanese vocals. But if we're discussing the in-game version, then I prefer the English version. Ringside and Love Rap sound great in Japanese, but I can't say the same for Screwbot Factory and especially Cheerleaders. Speaking of minigames, this remix is a blast to play. The gameplay is quick, the transitions are snappy, and this remix unironically utilized Remix 2's minigames better than Remix 2 did. And finally, there's the drop. They knew what they were cooking with this remix. A tier. Remember when I said Remix 8DS is one of the most memorable remixes in the series? Well, that's because this is the most memorable remix in the series. Remix 10 Wii. Whether you know it from this version, or that version, or this version, Remix 10 is fucking goated. It perfects the concept of a final remix, mixing every minigame together to test the player's ability to execute each one as best as possible. It's very difficult to pass, but 100% possible so long as you understand how each minigame works. The gameplay is fair, the transitions are clean, and although the fake-outs, yes, plural, are mean, you'll always see them coming after your first run. Additionally, Remix 10's track is composed so well. The transitions between each minigame's motif are as smooth as butter, and the inclusion of lyrical segments for each minigame with lyrics is such a good addition.
Into you.
Folk show, all about you,
All about you.
all about you,
All about you.
all about you.
All about you.
Remix 8DS is a fantastic remix, but Remix 10 Wii is near perfect. Easiest S tier so far.
Double up. Double up. Double up. Double up. Double up.
So, this is an obscure one. Endless Remix. This remix is unlocked in Fever after obtaining all 50 perfects, and includes minigames I've never seen in my life. It also has a major version difference, as Japanese copies of Rhythm Heaven Fever have an endless minigame called Manzai, while English copies of Rhythm Heaven Fever have an endless minigame called Mr. Upbeat. Fun facts aside, this is a nice remix. The variation in minigame controls keeps you on your toes, and this remix speeds up the further you go. Endless Remix's track is also a banger. I'd ask why more people don't talk about it, but most people don't even know that Endless Remix exists. Still, if I were to rank it, I'd probably place it in lower B tier. Now that we've wrapped up every remix in Fever, let's talk about the last entry in the Rhythm Heaven series, Rhythm Heaven Megamix. Finally! I don't have to specify which remix one I'm referring to anymore. Lush Remix is the first remix of Rhythm Heaven Megamix, and I think it's a great one. For starters, it has a Japanese and a quote-unquote English track. And I'm just gonna say it right now, the Japanese version is superior. Because unlike Fever, there are no English vocals in the English track. Just a MIDI trumpet over where the Japanese vocals would be, which is really disappointing. The English track does have a higher quality instrumental, but that's not beating vocals in my book.
ためらいの少女情熱の少年夢叶うその日までは戦い続ける私
Before I discuss the gameplay of Lush Remix, let me explain the way Megamix is structured. In Megamix, each column of 4 minigames includes one from Tengoku, one from DS, one from Fever, and a new one from Megamix. As such, the remixes in Megamix include minigames across every game in the Rhythm Heaven series. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about the gameplay. For a first remix, Lush Remix has some solid gameplay. I could do without the info dump in the beginning, but outside of that, each minigame is used well. Especially the new Megamix minigame, Sumo Brothers. I love this minigame. Lush Remix is my personal favorite first remix in the series. A tier.
私だけのときめきのストーリー
Honeybee Remix is the cutest remix in the series. The track used in this remix is actually its own song, titled I'm a Lady Now, and was performed by Sunku's daughter when she was 6 years old. That's really sweet, and I don't know how I've gone so long without mentioning Sunku, considering he's the producer and composer for the entire Rhythm Heaven series, but I digress. Anyways, this remix is really good. I enjoy this song a surprising amount, and the gameplay is simple but fun. I have no complaints here. Honeybee Remix is an A tier. If there's a remix most comparable to Machine Remix, that would be Remix 5 GBA. In case you haven't been paying close attention, Remix 5 GBA has stayed in A tier for 27 rankings so far.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Machine Remix is really f***ing good. Machine Remix has my third favorite track in the entire series, with the second being Remix 5 GBA's. It's just so good, and could have been even better if it had a full-length track or a higher quality instrumental. Which exists, but is reserved for the English track.
Jab, jab. 1, 2, 1, 2.
I'm sorry, you're just not beating Japanese vocals. As for the gameplay, it's some of the best this game has to offer. Every minigame is pushed to the max, especially rhythm tweezers. These patterns are easily some of the hardest to perfect in the series, and even if that's objectively questionable from a design perspective, I can't help but love them. Machine Remix is on par with Remix 5 GBA, and although Machine Remix has better gameplay than Remix 5 GBA, Remix 5 GBA's track is my second favorite in the entire series. Either way, they're both A tier. I'm not letting my bias for the color orange cloud my ranking. Citrus Remix is just alright. To clarify, it's not bad, but not great either. It's a little too basic, especially after the first 3 remixes, and the difficulty doesn't extend further than this one shoot 'em up section. At the very least, the music is good. Not my favorite, but certainly above average. I honestly don't have a lot more to say about Citrus Remix. B tier. Donut Remix is equally fine, but there are some directly good things about it. For one, it's nice to be reminded how difficult Working Dough could be after Working Dough 2 and Fever, and I like the Suma Brothers motif in the middle. Outside of that though, Donut Remix is pretty forgettable. The gameplay is thankfully harder than Citrus Remix. However, that's really about it. B tier. Oof. Barbershop Remix is another okay remix. It's a little jarring how low these last 3 remixes were ranked compared to the first 3, but I digress. The one thing Barbershop Remix does exceptionally well is its theming, as each minigame is connected to one another in the context of this remix. But outside of that, Barbershop Remix is quite dull, and its gameplay and track could only take it so far. B tier. Finally, a good remix, it's about damn time. Songbird Remix is actually pretty solid. For one, its track takes inspiration from Fever's Endless Remix, a track I've expressed great enjoyment for. However, Songbird Remix goes a step further to really flesh out Endless Remix's track, and I love it. The gameplay is also above average. I especially enjoy the quick transitions around the end, and each of these minigames are fun to play in this remix. What more could I say? Songbird Remix is an A tier remix. Only 3 more remixes to go. Megamix having twice as many minigames as every other entry in the series, Megamix technically has 3 final remixes, with the first being Left Hand Remix. And as these remixes are medleys both song-wise and gameplay-wise, I'll do my best to rank them fairly. Left Hand Remix is a good remix. It's got a solid selection of minigames, and the transitions song-wise and gameplay-wise are done well. Some of my favorite things about this remix are the exchange in the second contact section, the spike in difficulty in the rhythm tweezer section. Seriously, what is it with this game in Megamix? And the use of Blue Bear as the intro and outro minigame. Does Left Hand Remix align with the other final remixes in the series? Well...
No.
But it's still quite strong. A tier. In my opinion, Right Hand Remix is just a bit of a step up from Left Hand Remix. For one, the transitions in its track feel a lot more deliberate, such as the transition from Sumo Brothers to Sneaky Spirits, and the minigame order from Sneaky Spirits to Glee Club. I just appreciate clean transitions and cohesion between these minigames. I do think the gameplay is a little weaker than a Left Hand Remix, but that's due in part to the slightly easier difficulty, and the fact that around 50 seconds are devoted to the Clappy Trio. Other than that, I just barely prefer Right Hand Remix over Left Hand Remix. In fact, I'd consider them interchangeable, but they're still A-tier remixes. And now, we've arrived at the final remix in the Rhythm Heaven series. I don't care how good Remix 8DS's gameplay is, how much of a banger Remix 5 GBA's track is, or how memorable Remix 10 Wii is. This is the best remix in the Rhythm Heaven series. Final Remix. Final Remix is the longest remix in the series, has the most minigames out of any remix in the series, and goes beyond being a medley of every minigames track in its game. Let's start with the gameplay. Final Remix has one thing that no remix other than Machine Remix has in Megamix. It's actually hard. Final Remix does not skimp out on the difficulty. These are their minigames at their max. The removal of the stoplight in Rat Race, the use of the left turn cue while marching in marching orders, this one Working Dough section being harder than the entirety of Working Dough 2, and the inclusion of the Endless/Gatekeeper Trio minigames alongside Megamix's tutorial minigame. Pair all of that with the cleanest transitions in Megamix so far, and you've got yourself a wonderfully designed remix. As for the music, it's not the best minigame medley in the series. Not because it's bad, but because the latter half of Final Remix is actually a medley of every title theme in the Rhythm Heaven series. That's so fucking cool. Are you kidding me? So, although Final Remix's track isn't the best minigame medley in the series, it's so much more than that. What more could I say, man? Final Remix is hands down the best remix in all of Rhythm Heaven. S tier. Those are my thoughts on every remix in the Rhythm Heaven series. And once again, a video intended to be around 20 minutes became so much more. Thank you for watching this video until the very end. I hope this one-off was worth the wait and added some more variety to my channel. After all, I like encouraging viewers to expect the unexpected. Finally, I want to thank you all for the success of my channel membership. I've had an influx of new channel members since my official announcement, and I appreciate all of you who joined, and everyone for checking out the announcement. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to see what my channel offers you next. Here's to 60,000 subscribers, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.